Today on the Tom Kelly Show, your old pal, Tom Kelly, saves Thanksgiving. A lot of pressure on me. Let's start the show.
The Tom Kelly Show.
Yeah, let's try that again. Ready, and?
The Tom Kelly Show.
There you go.
Everybody, I want you to go to the Tom Kelly Show. I want you all to go from the Tom Kelly Show. Thank you. Keep that money coming.
Keep that money coming, people. Here we go. And content warning, spoiler alert. Snapchat your booty calls. Post a status on LinkedIn. You are experiencing the Tom Kelly Show. This is my third attempt at doing the show. I swore I would not do this today. I swore it. I want to do a whole show about preserving the integrity of Thanksgiving. God, I hope you're not listening to the theme song under all this. I'm trying to do a show where I don't have to edit it. I'm going to be real. First, this is the Tom Kelly Show, the podcast where one stand-up comedian questions life when I'm at it's the existential podcast of a comedian who's trying to get back to having fun in life. It is the existential podcast where a comedian kind of screws around and treats this like an open mic night, and some good bits come out of it. And it's the podcast where one stand-up comedian from Long Island really, in the end, connects with people who need a friend. And there was a point where I was doing the show twice a week, but I've been guaranteeing a show on Mondays. And I want to stick to that commitment because you guys have stuck with me. And I have a list of funny things that I think I want to talk about. And then I kind of did it and felt ridiculous. I don't know. So forgive me for my back and forth moods if I'm being honest with you guys. Let me be honest with you guys. The show was very emo when I first started it years ago. God, almost 5 years ago now for the pandemic. And I don't think the show evolved enough, but I also thought my life would have evolved by now. Like I really thought 5 years ago when they said, you'll be back in 2 weeks to your job. I thought it would be a month. Not over. And yeah, I am in that circle of people who haven't quite recovered from the pandemic. And if I'm being real, I'm having trouble maintaining my facade of positivity lately. You know, like I have a book, Art of Not Giving an F. We've talked about The Secret and manifesting and how it all starts with gratitude. And to be honest with you, much like all of the women I have slept with, I've been having trouble faking it. I started the morning high energy. I think I'm addicted to doing these Instagram videos. Like, honestly, I have a better week when I'm going viral. Which, though, if you think about it as a comedian, they call it dopamine hits. Like, does every time you hit like, does every time one of you guys comment on something I do, give me a little dopamine hit. It's a little, you're valid, Tom. You're valid. And listen, before we get into the internet, as a stand-up comic, every cheap laugh on stage was a hit of dopamine. So for those of you who don't know much about me, I'm a comedian from Long Island. I've performed as a warm-up act for a bunch of TV shows. And without getting into the whiny, the who, the whats, the wheres, and the whys, it started sputtering, come February 1, 2020. And a lot of comedians during that time when the world was sort of shut down for a year and a half, a lot of comedians kept using the phrase, I missed the addiction of the crowd. And I hated it, people who said that, but I'll admit it now. A lot of the clubs I have worked for that were my safeties have gone out of business. And I guess so this morning I was doing a comedy video. It's on my Instagram. I'm not going to put it into the show because this is an audio and video program. But it basically was a video from my hometown, taken from the Long Island Wise Guy, of a porch pirate on porch number 1 stealing a package and people chasing him. And there were Halloween decorations on porch number 1. And then it cuts to a second Ring camera down the block where the Christmas decorations are already up. And I don't like how we're rushing into every holiday. Like compared to when I was a kid and you were a kid. The holiday schedule seems to have been shifted up a month or two, and now we have this longer, like, empty period at the beginning of the year. You know, like, So, I mean, I hit stop 7 minutes into this podcast on the first recording of it, where I was, trying to be all jokey and stuff and say, pumpkin spice season starts October 1st. But that's what I want. I think we need to stretch summer out as long as we can, wherever you are. And then we get into fall. And maybe fall's a little bit truncated then. Fine. Listen, we've had a great fall here in New York. The colors have been fantastic. If you ignore the fact that we're in a drought and all the forests are as dry as my grandmother's vagina, I think that's the joke that made me want to stop doing the podcast, by the way. But yeah, jokes aside, it's dry in New York. New York is very combustible right now. The forests are very combustible, but if you ignore that, the leaves are gorgeous. And they haven't been blown off the trees. The weather has just been very touristy, for lack of a better word. Yeah, touristy. If you ignore global warming and all the politics we put in the weather, it's been gorgeous in the Northeast. Gorgeous. And actually, it's just funny. On one of my bike rides recently, and this is on my Instagram too, I actually encountered a brush fire on one of my bike rides on Long Island, and it was spreading fast because just everything's dry. But I've gotten a kick out of it because the fall kind of stretched out. But we're in this rush to shift the year up a little earlier where we're not, what it is? We're in such a rush to get to the next season. We're not enjoying the seasons we're in. Hang on, this might be a self-reflective podcast. Because I'm rushing to get to the next season of my life, and in some ways I'm not enjoying the season of life I'm in now. But if you think about it, like corporate America, and I learned this about pumpkin spice season. There's a study that really people only like 5 cups of pumpkin spice coffee a year. So what's happened is all the coffee chains got into this rush of who can get pumpkin spice to market sooner, hoping to get your 5 cups of coffee. And I know this from when I used to produce at ABC. They know for like Christmas shopping, people, if you want to get the Christmas shopping money early, because generally by December 10th, everybody's done all their shopping. So that's why you see, it used to be the big rush for Black Friday, but now we're rushing for people who might be spending their money a week or two before that. And in that, I've noticed a trend for people who are sad and dark and lonely for wanting to put up their Christmas decorations early. I used to get into this fight with my sister-in-law. She used to love putting up the decorations on Thanksgiving night, and I used to say she was crazy. Well, she is sane compared to my other friends out there. There are people, I know people who have trees up in their window now, and it's just like, and then but the thing is, then you get bored of Christmas. Like, again, what we're recording this on Sunday, November 24th. Thanksgiving this year will be the 28th. The Christmas music's playing on some of the stations already. And, I don't know. I love the days of when I was a kid. Christmas went from December 1st. Like you waited, if you enjoyed Thanksgiving weekend as a weekend of Thanksgiving. Yeah. You enjoyed a weekend of Thanksgiving. What are you grateful for? What family fight did you have? And then you kind of pushed into Christmas. Then the decorations went up. Like my family, we don't put up the decorations until some years the 20th, a couple of times Christmas Eve, but then we keep it up until January 6th, if not Martin Luther King weekend. And when you think about it, I go into a depression around Martin Luther King weekend. Not. I was just thinking, God, If somebody were trying to cancel me, that sentence sounds weird. Like, someone go, why do you get depressed about Martin Luther King weekend, Tom? Do civil rights make you depressed? No. But that's when the bills come from Christmas, around January 15th. And then you get the reminder of you don't have anybody to spend Valentine's Day with right around then. And that's when people need to start booking their vacations, but they can't go on vacation because their kids are in school that month. And then they're all rushing for winter break, but that's not until President's Week. So I'm a big fan of, we got to shift the schedule back again. And if corporate America needs money, let's bring back Three Kings Day, January 6th, the Epiphany. That's the day the wise men showed up at baby Jesus' manger and brought the presents, according to the Catholic calendar. That's my save. Like I have the Tom Kelly Save Thanksgiving Challenge. Do not listen to Christmas music until the Monday after Thanksgiving, or at least until Black Friday. Do not put your decorations up until at least Black Friday. Make a list of the things you are grateful for. And do not buy any presents or do any Christmas planning until Black Friday or when you're at the table with your relatives for Thanksgiving. And you can talk about the next one there. Not really comedic. In fact, as I shift this for the radio stations, I'm going to move that up just a little bit. There you go. Look at that. I'm actually rewriting the list while on air, people. That's the benefit of this podcast. This is the rough draft. This is the rough draft before I give it to other people I work for. If you're new to the podcast, I also ghostwrite for about 100 radio stations around the country, coming up with wacky ideas for them to talk about. One of my things that I love around the holidays is this is the time of year where we talk about the Thanksgiving holiday bomb, or some people might call it the turkey drop. That a Thanksgiving bomb is a sudden, awkward, or controversial statement or revelation made during Thanksgiving dinner that disrupts the festive mood, such as an unexpected sharing of news about relationships, politics, or family secrets. Thanksgiving bombs can include, my sex life is not as heteronormative as you thought it was. Trying to make that sentence inclusive. I'm moving to a new city. I had a loved one who used to always say, and honestly, I feel like that loved one because that loved one never left New York, and I'm in that same mood of, she would always say, I'm moving to Alabama. I'm like, all right, and I'd be like, all right, I'll believe it when I see it. But then people who love this loved one would always be like, oh, I'm not going. Oh, no, don't go. And then everybody gets sad. And I'm pregnant is always a good holiday Thanksgiving bomb. My cousin Jennifer told me on Christmas Day that she was pregnant with my nephew Jake. Ceremonial nephew, if you're new to the show. It's not like my cousin. Yeah, just go with that. But I just remember it happened after a Christmas when my brother and I were still doing Christmas gifts together. I had spent more money than my brother had wanted, and he's like, that's it. You're not buying the presents anymore. I can't handle all these nieces and nephews. And then there was another one coming. I'm dropping out of college. Good Thanksgiving bomb. I was always weird about Thanksgiving. I didn't love Thanksgiving because I always felt like Thanksgiving was the holiday where there would be a weird family fight. That's it. That's all I'll say. Some people must have had emotions backed up where something would happen weird on Thanksgiving. So I was always nervous on Thanksgiving. But a happier version I have a cousin who passed away and I loved him. And there was a year he was in basically a court-mandated halfway house. And it was not quite juvenile detention because he could come home on holidays and maybe a couple of weekends. But we couldn't call it how's juvenile detention. You couldn't say how's prison going. How's the holiday in jail? We would call it the place. Because again, you're making chit chat. You're making chit chat with your cousin who's in jail. but he's not. So you had to just go, hey, how's the place? And we never, we never, like what got him there was never discussed. It was like the elephant in the room. Hey, are you not being a jerk? Hey, not messing with the law? You couldn't ask any of that. It was the elephant in the room. Everybody has, I don't know if everybody has it because we haven't had one for a while. Like your elephant might be a loved one who's going through a divorce. Your elephant might be something like that. But my Thanksgiving elephant was, my cousin Ben, God rest his soul. I love him and I'm sad he's gone. Because there was a good kid in there. But there was a year, maybe a year and a half where he was going through growing pains, growing troubles, whatever you want to call it. Wound up in jail, but you couldn't say, how's jail? You had to say, how are things in the place? Oh, you did some woodworking in the place. You made, the place. And then how do you dance around it? How do you dance around your elephant? I don't know. That's kind of boring. I don't know. Like it's funny. I'm it's funny. I have things that I like in writing right now, and maybe this is part of why I'm not a great comedian sometimes, because I'm afraid of ruining the remnants of relationships that don't really even exist. Like it's funny. Like you talk about the one thing about, TMI. Like people joke that I give out too much information. I'm an NEI guy on certain family things. Like I won't make jokes about my mother and father because my mother is a saint and I'm afraid of hurting her feelings. And from that stems a lot of my blockages. From that stems why I only joke about me not getting laid on stage. Actually, you know what? Let's shift. I have 2 stand-up jokes in my hand here that have not quite, like I'm trying to write new stand-up jokes. That's the next frustration for later. I have a joke that's half based in truth. See, the problem too is comedy is always based in truth. And like I have the joke I'll do that's fake-ish is I'm afraid of being framed for murder by my Caucasian cleaning lady. I think that's already sort of a conversation changer because I say white cleaning lady. And then you start debating, can you have a white cleaning lady? But I did. I had a cleaning lady. Her name was Molly. And at one point, she was the worst cleaning lady in the world. She was. My carpet was dirty or stained, and she had the line, you should have someone clean that carpet for you. And I'm like, I'm paying you. And then there would just be a couple of times when I'd come home and, she'd be watching TV or sitting on the sofa, and she'd be like, oh, I'm tired and whatever. Okay, fine. But then the time I decided to cut her loose was she somehow opened up my Amazon or Netflix, which was newer at the time, and filled my viewing history with about 8 hours of her watching murder documentaries, like creepy ones, Dahmer, Scott Peterson, like I murdered my wife stuff. And I'm like, oh, 1, it was just icky to see all that coming up. 2, it was icky to see recommendations for more of that stuff coming up. And 3, I started thinking, she's been in my apartment. What if she hid a murder weapon in here? And then like, wow, we found the murder knife. We found an axe from the axe murderer. And he's been watching Netflix murder documentaries. Anyway, that's sort of the joke there. And even as I'm saying it out loud, it doesn't sound as funny, but there's that writing. And then I've been trying to perfect the I date taller women bit, which the thing with stand-up is stand-up sometimes takes years to write, and I'm not getting up enough to pound out certain things. I've told a couple of these jokes before. Bear with me if you like the process. I tend to fall for taller, athletic women who are questioning their sexuality, and usually after 3 dates with me, they have their answers. I have a friend who always I have a gay male friend who always falls for straight men. I'm the reverse. I'm a straight man who always falls for lesbians. I'm attracted to women who do not put up with men's crap. Lesbians. I love saying the word lesbian, by the way. I love saying the word lesbian. But I like tall women. I like tall, athletic women. This one has not worked in open mic nights. I go to WNBA games with the same enthusiasm teenage girls go to boy band concerts. Oh my God, Caitlin Clark. Oh my God, what about her? Oh my God. And then I need a third popular. Oh my God, Caitlin Reese. And then everyone will not know who the hell those names are. I'm like, those are all WNBA players. My last girlfriend was 6'5". With those genes, she could have Division I babies, and averaged with my genes, she could have rec league babies. That worked once. I want a girl who can teach my unborn child how to play sports while I teach them to troll on Yelp reviews. While I teach them to write passive-aggressive Yelp reviews. There has to be something there. See, that one I've only done on Long Island, and I don't think they know what Yelp is out there yet. My last girlfriend was 6'5". We looked like we were auditioning for a TLC reality show. Sort of. And then I have a whole thing about matching trans, which I'm afraid to put out there. Weird to put out there. I don't know. Oh, I was not quite an athlete as a child. I was not an athlete as a child. I was so bad at school sports that I was ridiculed by the Catholic school rec league coach. And he was a priest. I don't know. All right. You know what? I just wanted to get a show out there, people. I don't know. There you go. I feel it's funny how much I wanted to do a podcast at the beginning of this, and funny how at the end of it, I'm just like, do people really need to hear from me once a week? I'm going through, so if I'm being honest and human, which I don't know if I should be on this podcast anymore, but I'm going through, by the way, I'm thankful. Let me start with that. I'm thankful you guys listen to the show. If you're this far into the show, you're not just a listener, you're a friend. I have good things going on in my life. I'm just missing some form of fulfillment that I had before the mess of 5 years ago. And it's only really recently that I realized, the faith was misplaced. The faith that things would get better were misplaced. And before you get depressed about that, I have wondered if the faith that things will get better was a distraction from looking for what could be new and beautiful. You know, like this sort of took off for a bit and then it kind of leveled out. The Instagram took off for a bit and kind of leveled out. I mean, there have been successes, but it's just a matter of I guess, you know what, I'm going to give myself the advice I gave while trying to be jokey before, which is I have a list of things I'm grateful for, which I'm not going to get into now because the show's getting too long and I have places to drive to. But I don't want to rush to I'm trying to enjoy this season without rushing to the next one. But good God, I am figuratively ready to put my Christmas decorations up in June. We'll see if I air this show. Thank you guys for listening. Happy Thanksgiving. Don't talk politics. And if someone else starts talking politics, just smile and nod and be nice to them. And I mean that for real in this complicated world right now. Show love where love can be shown. And thank you for showing it with me. We do have that secret Facebook group. Whenever you comment on Instagram, it does make some form of difference, if not in my career, in my validation. And yeah. And I have a lot to be grateful for. And you're on that list. Good night, New York.